moving forward with what's already happening. It's flow. It's like going down the river and being pushed by a strong current and going, no, I want to stop. I'm just going to stand here and stop and let the river rush around me. If the current is strong enough, you can't do that. You'll be swept with the current. And then you go, okay, well, I guess I'll go with the current. I've made my decision. No, but that's the ridiculousness of it on a certain level. That the forces and circumstances and causes are so compelling that there is no other decision to be made. The only reason to even think about all this is to remove the self-analysis and guilt of what's already happened, because that's useless. We can look back and say, oh, if only I had done this, or oh, I can't believe I did that, if I had just, or if I'd have known, or if I'd have, whatever, if I'd have, if. You know, any statement that starts with if, you should just throw away. You know, it's like when people that are overwhelmed with fear, I'll tell them, if any statement you make inside your head starts with the two words, what if, don't believe it. Because all it is fear. It's just fear. Well, what if this happens? What if that happens? Well, it's not, is it? Well, yeah, no, but what if it does? Well, then you'll deal with it when it does, but until it exists, you can't do anything about it. And so, again, what I was talking about feels unsettling because it takes away that idea of control, because we like to think we're in control. And it's okay to think that, if that brings you some comfort. But I think there's more to be understood about in life if we examine the forces of life and at least consider them. We don't have to buy into them. I mean, I don't expect anyone to walk around all day. You know, someone says, well, what are you going to do tomorrow? I don't know. I'll find out because the flow will move me there. You know, you'll start sounding like some hoodoo, voodoo, new ager that, you know, that's like looking for, you know, alignment before, you know, it doesn't do any good to think about it. But it's useful to understand that that's kind of the way things work on a grand scale. If not, you know, if you can accept it at a grand scale but not accept it at a personal scale, that's one step a little closer. If you're willing to accept it at a personal scale, then I think that's useful, honestly. But it is a little bit hard to do for most people because it's totally contrary to everything that we've ever been taught, everything that we've been told to honor or think is important, that we are the masters of our existence, that no one will make me do anything I don't want to do. Sorry. On one level, it's almost comical. And I only say this because as I look out, this is what I see. And I'm just suggesting that you look out and see if this is true or not. If you don't see it, then you don't see it, and it doesn't have to be true for you. I just seem to, when I look out and I see things and I hear people making decisions and deciding things and, you know, saying I did this and I did that and I created this and I created that, I look at it and think, you really didn't. You were part of it. You were, you know, there were 100 people working on something and the person in the front goes, I did this. Well, that's not really true. 100 people did it. You're the one that took credit for it, you know, because you thought it was your idea. But, you know, when you want to do something and the world doesn't want you to, it's like you can't do it. I find that in large scale things and small scale things. I mean, I'll tell you a really silly small scale story. I'm in Hawaii and I'm with my wife and another lady and her husband, and the girls decide they want to go to a quilting store. Well, I got to tell you, there's very few things in this world that I don't like to do. That's very high on my list. To wander around a fabric store and just die.
No
Die 1,000 deaths as I walk around. Exactly. Because there's Hawaiian fabric there. Where else are you going to find Hawaiian fabric, right? They have a reason, and they're excited. They're like, this is like fun. So we drive up to this fabric store, and I get out of the car, and I look across the street, and there's a Buddhist temple. I'm like,
What?
there's a Buddhist temple across the street. I'm like, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to go in the fabric store. I'm going to go to the Buddhist temple and go talk to the guys over there, see what they're all about. So I tell them that, and they said, okay. And so I go over and I stand on the side of the highway. And cars are going, whew, whew, cars are coming the other way. Whew, whew. Stood there for 20 minutes. Could not get
Is
across.
this on Maui?
No, Kauai.
Oh, okay.
Could not get across the highway.
Oh.
Couldn't. I tried to like step, cars wouldn't stop, slow down. It was like they would have killed me, you know? So after 20 minutes, I go, okay, going in the quilt store. So I turn around and I walk into the quilt store, and the first thing I see as I walk in is all along the rafters are all these ancient Japanese prints of samurai warriors on these t-shirts.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, ooh, I want one of those. And then I'm walking around and I find this piece of fabric that has two beautiful blue fabric, white moon, two white cranes flying that I'm going to bring in and hang in here. And I'm like, okay. It's like, I give up. I'm not supposed to go to the Buddhist temple. I'm supposed to come in here, buy t-shirts for all my friends. And, you know, and of course that's a silly story. But by applying this way of considering, it brought me great joy to not go across the street and do what I wanted, and to go into the store and find something that I would never have expected. So it turned it in, instead of experiencing a frustrating situation, I found almost like insight by this simple fact that I couldn't get across the street. And we can create our own, I use the word magic, I hate that word, but we can create our own magic, our own joy by noticing how these things happen in our lives. Normally we would just, you know, not even, it's like I can't get across the damn street, so I'm gonna go in the store. I might not have even looked up, and even if I looked up and saw the t-shirt, I'd still be mad that I was in the quilt store. Mad that I couldn't go across the street. You know, it's choice. You know, am I gonna react to the wonder of the moment, or am I gonna react to the annoyance of the moment? These are, and each one is as valid as the other. You know, some people say, oh, well, you're just an optimist. You're just looking for the good stuff. No, I'm not. I'm just noticing that there is good when I look. I could have done either one. I had a choice. And the fact that I spend a lot of time noticing allowed me to notice that I had a choice and allowed me to choose which one I wanted to have in my life. Do I want to make myself miserable? Do I want to make myself happy? It was totally up to me. You know? Again, I could have blamed my wife for taking me to a fabric store and been mad at her all day long. Could have done that, you know? But it was like, wow, here's wonder right in front of me, and all I got to do is embrace it, you know? And you get that rush of, you know, this, how good that feels, you know? It's a different way of living. It's not the way we've been taught to live. And it opens up simply, not by convincing ourselves that, not convincing ourselves of any particular thing. Not sitting there and saying, well, I'm only going to look for the good in things, or I'm going to deny the bad, or I'm going to, if I think positive thoughts, then positive things will happen. I'm not doing anything to myself. I'm not brainwashing myself or convincing myself to live or think in any particular way. All I'm telling myself is to notice that I have a choice. That's all. I'm not, because when we get into these different methodologies of positive thinking or manifesting or all of these things, which, if that's what people need, that's fine. But what I notice when I look at those things is that they're an unsupported system that the bottom falls out of when put to a true test. And so we put our belief or our faith into these things of, well, if I only think positive thoughts and only positive things happen, then something comes along that's devastating. It kicks the struts out from underneath us. We collapse. Whereas if we notice what's going on and something devastating happens, we notice that it's devastating. We allow it to be devastating. We ride the wave of the devastation till it's over, knowing that it will get better. It's not a belief system. It's what in Zen Buddhism they call true reality. It's the way things are.